regards of seeing a video that is called "The Sin of Observing the Law of Moses and Falling from Grace." It's just incredible. Judaizers, right? Like it's a bad thing to keep the law of Jehovah. It's incredible. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk in regards of persecution. Now, the Nazarenes kept the law of Moses, and they kept the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach. And the saints, of course, are those that keep in God and protect the commandments of Jehovah and the testimony of Yeshua, or Jesus. But overall, we have the Nazarenes. Every time you seem to, where in history, where people have come too close in regards of having the witness of Jesus Christ and keeping of the law, persecution follows. Now, the Nazarenes are one of the groups, the first group, that believed in Yeshua, and they were persecuted from both the Jews, the non-believing Jews, and the Gentile Christians. That would probably have been the Romanizers. Because of course, that was people that was the so-called Judaizers, so they wouldn't have persecuted, the Nazarenes. So again, most likely the Romanizers. Anyway, so we see the persecution that the Nazarenes are persecuted from both sides. They're sandwiched from the Gentile, whatever you want to call it, Romanizers. And I think a Romanizer might be a good word, So the Gentile Romanizers were attacking the Nazarenes, and the Jews, the non-believing Jews. The thing is, the Jews hated the Nazarenes because they believed that the Nazarenes believed that Yeshua was the Messiah. And of course, it's like, again, we see in Judaism that they have still, you see the hatred in regards of calling Yeshua Yeshu, which is an acronym for may his name be obliterated or blotted out. And they still call him Yeshu, they have this specific word for Jesus, or Yeshua, So the Gentile Romanizers hated the Nazarenes, not because they did believe in anything else in regards of Yeshua, because they believed the same thing, in regards of him being the Son of God and God in flesh and born by a virgin and so forth. But they hated them because they thought they were still keeping the law of Moses. Oh yeah, how horrible. How horrible that anyone could still keep, the law of Moses, and not following the Antichrist traditions, right? The great Bishop of Rome and all that. Anyway, so-called Bishop of Bishops, whatever. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't have any authority over any Christians, It's the Pontifex Maximus is the pagan high priest. In regards of going back to Constantine, he was the pagan high priest of sun worship. Sol Invictus. The unconquerable, sun in regards to the literal sun. Anyway, so pagan God and pagan worship and all that. Anyway, so why would any Christian have that title upon himself? Well, maybe because he's not Christian. Maybe because he's a deceiver and a big bad wolf. That is the prophetic, biblical, historical, Antichrist, the number 666. Anyway, so going back, so the Nazarenes are attacked from the Jews and hated by the Jews, even if they are Jews, many of them, not because they're not keeping the law, in regards of the law of Moses, but because they believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. And that's terrible, right? To believe that Yeshua, it's something, it's allowed in I've been in Israel and all that, and it's allowed, there's many other so-called Messiahs. Like the Jews expected a Messiah that would kick out the Romans and set up the kingdom of God and all that, make Israel great again. And then comes Yeshua. And what does he say? Love your enemies. What? Hey, dude, we are expecting you to kick those Romans out and set up, make Israel great again and all that. And you're telling us to love the Romans? They couldn't apparently accept that. And of course, by rejecting Yeshua, they went with another Messiah, and they pretty much got beaten by the Romans and kicked out at that point. I can't remember his name at the moment, but anyway, any case, I was no, I can't. The name is anyway. So they were persecuted by the Jews and all that, and we have some interesting writings in regards of burning their documents and what to do in regards to the name of God. So the name of God seems to have been in their documents. So and they any case they're called the Minim. Anyway, so which is also said to be an acronym and all that, but anyway, then we have the Romanizers, right? And they hated the Jews as well. We have to be careful. They hated the Nazarenes as well. And why would they hate the Nazarenes? Well, it was not because they didn't believe in Yeshua, because they believed in Yeshua. They believed that he was, he was the Son of God and God in flesh and born of a virgin and all that. That was in regards to the Nazarenes. We're not talking about the Ebionites that comes out from the Nazarenes, and I think that would be around 70 AD after the temple is destroyed. The Ebionites seems to be a group that comes out for the Nazarenes, and they don't believe that Yeshua is the Son of God and God in flesh, and they don't believe in the virgin birth either. But, as filthy as it is, as always, when people are trying to use the argument, oh yeah, the Ebionites did. The Ebionites was not the original group. So to use that as an argument is just bullshit, Anyway. So the Romanizers hated the Nazarenes because they kept the law of Moses. And as you know, Romanizers don't like to keep the law of Moses. They want to keep the law of the Antichrist, of the Roman Antichrist of the number 666. So you see, that's a problem, right? That's pretty much an issue, right? So they also got persecuted there. So you see, they got sandwiched in history. And again, people are collecting information and doing a lot of research nowadays. And but we have lost. We have lost a lot of documents. We have a huge amount of information out there for sure, but we have also lost documents that might have helped us. I wouldn't be, and it's not a big surprise because looking at what I get deleted in regards to the internet, how Satan operates and gets people to delete things and all that. It's, it would make sense that we, anyway. So, as things that exposes, Rome as, the whole and, anyway, and the Antichrist, thinking to change times and laws and all that, written in the book of Daniel, which is a book that is, at least 2,500 years old or something like that. And yet it prophesies about all these things that have been happening in history until this very point. Isn't it interesting? Oh, anyway, I think it's very interesting. I think it's, having a book that is, anyway. So, not only was the Nazarenes persecuted, but again, when you have Jesus in regards to mercy and you also have the law, you get persecuted. That's just how it is in regards of his history. Another example of persecution are people that got too close to these two things. Now, it's not to say that you can't be persecuted. There's persecution everywhere in regards of, and I would like to see more information in regards to the persecution of Christians in the 4th century, because there's a lot of things happening in the 4th century, and yet there must be someone that have done some history on the 4th century of, because as I understand it, they killed a lot in the 4th century. A lot of so-called heretics, people that didn't want to, keep the Sunday instead of Sabbath, instead of the Saturday, or that they didn't want to eat pig or kept to, the festivals of Jehovah written in the Bible and all that. Anyway, all these things, and I would like more information to get more details about the 4th century, because as I understand it, the more Christians was killed in the 4th century than that had been killed before that time. So the Constantine comes in and all that, and you see the I guess the tails in some sense. I don't know what to call it, but you see how it amalgamates with Roman mysticism, the Roman mystical religion. So that's where it amalgamates with that. She didn't change. She was always there. She was there before, and she's still there now. She just took some sheep clothing on, pretty much. She's riding on all the 7 heads of the beast, and 5 has been in the time of John when he's writing the book of Revelation. 5 has been, 1 is, and 1 is to come, and the 8 will be one of the 7. Yeah, anyway. I'm a little rusty in regards of but anyway, I think as far as I can see, that would be the 6th head. So the 8 is actually of this number 6 head, as I understand it. But anyway, because the 7 head, as I understand it, was what's it called? Oh, I can't remember the rule of that. That was something just for a while, and then the Antichrist, which is the beast, came around. And that's from the number 6. Anyway, so 5 has already been, and you have to remember the whore, the woman that that's drunken by the blood of the saints and all that, is riding all the heads, all the 7 heads. So if she's riding all the 7 heads, she had to be at the beginning in regards to Rome, when it was a kingdom, and actually the Pontifex Maximus was apparently around. Wikipedia talks about that the Pontifex Maximus was given his rules by the king, by the second king. So that was when Rome was a kingdom. Well, if then the Pontifex Maximus must already have been around at that point, right? So that makes sense that that the mystical religion of Roman is that was already there from the beginning. It was there from the beginning of Rome. It went, and then just took sheep clothing. Satan was losing a lot of people in regards of the truth, in regards of Yeshua Mashiach. So what do you do? Well, you make it your own in some sense, and then you set your own puppet in the middle of it, and make people believe that he, rules and he decides and this and that, and then you have the Bible in Latin that no one can read. And you have all these people running around calling themselves titles like Father, when Yeshua said there's only one Father and he's the one in heaven. Don't call anyone Father on earth. And what does this maniac system do? Oh, Father might this, Father might that, Holy Father, in regards of the so-called Pope, Anyway, this system is just an wicked abomination. It's the most filthy system, and saying that that's a Christian system is just outrageous. It's the masterpiece of Satan. It's the masterpiece of Satan. It's just, there he goes, sitting himself in the middle of Christianity and setting himself, as the head of all Christianity. That's utter bullshit. And persecuting the saints. We have this organization persecuting the saints for millennia. For hundreds of years. Millennia. That was in regards to 1,000 years, right? I meant in regards to hundreds and hundreds of years. I guess in regards to millennia, that would be that's hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. Sorry, it's my slip of my tongue. Hundreds of years. That keeping on the safe here. So it pretty much have persecuted the saints for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, as written in the Bible. We see that she's drunken by the blood of the saints. And it's the city that rules over the kings of the earth. Which city rules over the kings of the earth? Rome, 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 your boat. Gently down the stream. Anyway, all roads leads to Rome. Proud as a pope. Latin and lies. These different sayings and all that. I would think bullshit probably also comes from that in regards of the papal bull, and all that. So I guess bullshit would pretty much, bullshit. It's just Martin Luther burned the bull in the fire with the canon laws, all those man-made stupidity laws and all that. Anyway, anyway, persecution, that was the thing. Okay, so we have the Nazarenes was persecuted, from both sides. But not only the Nazarenes, when we have the Christians in Spain that also came, you have Gentile Christians and, the so-called conversos, in regards to Jews being falsely converted, but might actually have, came to believe in Yeshua. But the thing is, the Gentile Christians taught the Jews about Jesus, and the Jews taught the Christians in regards to the festivals and probably other things. And Satan didn't like that. That was too close to the truth. And again, these people in Spain was persecuted. And yeah. So that's what's number 2. Then we have another group that actually came to be more than anyway. We have what is called let's see here. Thinking. Why can't I even, I guess, regards of the Mennonites, wow, I've forgotten about it. It's incredible. What are those words? I know the words, just don't grasp them at the moment. Anyway, the Anabaptists, the Mennonites, the Amish, and the Hutterites, and the Brethren. They actually called themselves Brethren. But anyway, that's at least 4 of the groups, that is out there today. But anyway, I personally like the Hutterites mostly. They have differences in regard, but they are considered Anabaptist, all of them. But they all, I don't know much about the Brethren actually, but the Hutterites was, really, they are really more. That sounds pretty. They have a community. That's the Anabaptists have like a community of, and sadly, of course, they can be infiltrated by the special soldiers of Satan, the Jesuits as well, of course, or by other working for this wicked Antichrist system, making itself out to be something they are not, and so forward, or the system itself. Anyway, so they were persecuted as well, and the thing is, the Anabaptist was persecuted not only by the Protestants, while they were Protestants, they were persecuted, seeing what the Protestants are writing about the Anabaptists is just utter nonsense. Why would they attack the people, the Anabaptists, when the Anabaptists, they were just, they were called the radicals as well, and, extremists. They all these words that they give to, to try to discredit people. It's just stupid, You want to see any radical extremist, Judaizer, and so forward, legalist? Well, look to Jesus. Oh, by the way, are we not disciples of Jesus, of Yeshua? Oh yeah. So would it be bad to be a radical, Judaizing, extremist, legalist? Oh, nah, okay. Or would it be better to be a Romanizer, Is that better? Is that better to be a Romanizer, just throwing the law of Jehovah out the window and, oh, Antichrist laws, yeah, let's go with that. Is that any better? Anyway, so the Anabaptist was persecuted by both sadly by other Protestants, very sadly, but Zwingli ended up, persecuting and the Lutherans and I think also the Calvins, and there's some books about these things where even if we didn't have anything from the Anabaptists, we could still see what the Anabaptists we could learn a lot in regards to what the Anabaptists did by what other wrote about them, and they're writing against them like derogatory, and yet it's like, when they're writing these derogatory things about the Anabaptists, it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Are you really going to use so stupid, like, oh yeah, because, the Anabaptists are not cursing like us and all that, so they're like the children of the devil. Are you kidding me? Is that an argument? You have to be kidding me. Anyway, so, and such things, such nonsense, it's like, they didn't want to go to war. They didn't want to kill other people. Oh yeah, didn't Jesus say don't take up a sword? And we also have stories from, one of the stories that I remember is in regards of an officer, I think, in the Roman army, and he's like saying, he's coming out to the other soldiers, if I remember correctly, in regards to the story, and he takes his sword and he just throws it in the earth, in the earth, and says, "I will fight no more. I have become a Christian." Oh, that sounds pretty Christian to me, actually. Not like going on a crusade or anything like that, like Romanism. Oh, we have to have a crusade in the Middle East and this and that. A crusade. Did Jesus say we would need to go on a crusade? I don't remember Jesus talking about, hey, you guys, we going to go on a crusade. I think Jesus said something about going out and telling the good news about, the kingdom of God, and Jesus dying on the tree, for the sins of the world, and being resurrected 3 days after and all that, and that we have resurrection in Jesus Christ, or in Yeshua HaMashiach. That in believing in him, we, are looking forward to a resurrection until everlasting life. That's what I thought was, By the way, just to also remember that Yeshua is actually saying that there will be some that say, "Lord, Lord, didn't we do wonderful miracles in your name and prophesied in your name and, mighty things, whatever, in your name and all that." And Yeshua says, "Verily, verily, I tell you, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity, lawlessness." And actually in the Greek it's anomias, I think it was anomia, that probably could be in regards of you that are without law. It would be interesting to actually see the Hebrew. It seems like we have found Hebrew manuscripts in Hebrew in regards of the Gospels. Now, of course, the scholars have a way of actually not just releasing them, right? I know we also have some Waldensian Bibles. I think I had another source, I think it was around 6 or something like that was talking about, that was in regards to when I did study in regards to 1 John 5:7. That was a wonderful little thing collected together, and one of the things it talked about was in regards to the Waldensian Bibles, that 1 John 5:7 was in the Waldensian Bibles. But yeah, anyway, I did some research. I think it's valid. As far as my research go, I think 1 John 5:7 is valid. Also, by the way, we have here's one of three in heaven in regards to 1 John 5:7. That was course from Christendom 386 to 387. But yeah, it's different witnesses going back, and some have collected a lot of good information in 1 John 5:7, because a lot of people don't like 1 John 5:7. And why don't they like 1 John 5:7? Well, because they don't believe that Jesus is God. And then it's a bigger problem in regards to 1 John 5:7. Anyway, as far as my research go, and sometimes since I did it, so I can. But that was great in regards to the Waldensian Bibles, and I know other people out on the internet wonder why we have not access to the Waldensian Bibles. Why are the Waldensian Bibles being kept only for the scholars? Why is it not put in the Bible programs? These big Bible programs. Why don't we have access to the Waldensian Bibles? Why is there so much focus on, on these other Latin why is the focus on the Waldensian Bibles, and why don't we have them? So we can study, and maybe Satan doesn't want us to have a look in regard to the Waldensian Bible. I would like more information on the Waldensian Bibles. Which language are they on, and so forward. Anyway. So in any case, there's so many things, there's so many things in regards of, and my brain, pretty much can't handle it, I guess. so much. So anyway, so it's very interesting that we actually seem to that there actually exist Hebrew manuscripts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and it's just that's very interesting. That would be whoa. Anyway, but anyway, why don't I have that in regards to 1 John 5:7? Let's see. I must say see if I can find it again in regards to. I don't know if I printed it out. I probably have thrown it. I had it. I don't know. I don't know if I printed it out or still have it someplace. So many papers everywhere. So it's a mess. It's just it's not really. Papers, right? Papers all everywhere. It's pretty much a mess, and of course, anyway, whatever. That doesn't really. Getting back to it. So, but that would be interesting. But if I can't remember, I think it was around 6. Okay, so, but that would be interesting to get that information, right? To instead of focusing all these. Where they try to force, the Roman Bible and all that, whatever. Thinking. Oh yeah, we had the Anabaptists. So the Anabaptists were persecuted by the Protestants, which is just awful. Why would that? And again, we see a lot of things. There was 100,000 peasants that Luther got killed or something like that. That was just awful, absolutely awful. And I remember something in regards to they believed that Luther was how's it called, a code, what do you call it, turncoat, I think they called it. It's like turncoat, I guess, someone that turns, because they, as I understand it, they thought that they actually was with them, supported them, and yet he turned around and then, he pretty much got 100,000 peasants killed, if I remember correctly. Might be, it's just, again, I'm a little rusty here. But anyway, that's very, very bad, and they probably didn't have it so great in regards to the peasants. They just wanted to have some, better living standards and all that. So I would think they were probably pretty suppressed, Anyway. Whatever the case, they just wanted to, but they were pretty much crossed and they were pretty much killed. I think I don't think it was the Christian way to go around in regards to this. I think it could have been, I think one could have, made an agreement with these people, that probably didn't have it so good, and just wanted some fair, some food on the table, for their work. And anyway, whatever. There's a lot of things going around in regards to the Reformation, which became a protest and all that. We have to remember it's not only Luther. We have a lot of other players in regards to this, and so yeah. Anyway, but that was awful. I think that was absolutely awful. And Luther himself writes, confessed that he actually did that and wrote the blood pen and all. Whatever. Anyway, that was very, very, very sad to see. And then Andreas Karlstadt seemed to have been given the he became the bad guy, and I guess he was persecuted as well, of course. I guess he got too close to the truth as well, and Luther came back and turned the things around. Back to it's very sad. Anyway, so yeah, we should expect persecution in a world that doesn't want to want to release its grip on Satan in regards of his doctrines and fallacies and all that. So the Anabaptists was persecuted by the Protestants, and they were even Protestants themselves, and yet they were seen as too radical, too extreme, and taking it too far. It's just and they went out to spread the good news of Jesus Christ, of Yeshua HaMashiach, and all that, and they were persecuted by the Roman Catholics as well. So they were squeezed in a sandwich as well. So. Again, when you get too close, now again, the Anabaptists still had, you can see still today that, some of the groups today have some big problems. I think they might actually be infiltrated by the special soldiers of Satan in regards of the Jesuits and all that. Just one can get in there. Just one needs to be going in there and get to the highest position, and then they can change it from the top down, right? So again, I saw one of I think it was an Amish group, and they were not allowed to read the Bible in the language they could speak. That sounds like the Dark Ages. You're not allowed to have a Bible in the language that you can speak, and only allowed to read the Bible in a language that was like Dutch or something like that they couldn't read anymore. You had to be kidding me. That sounds like the Dark Ages in regards to the Roman Catholic bullshit institution, ruling over the people, the Nicolaitans, and yeah, anyway. Yeah. So, but yeah, of course, you can find issues in every single group here and there and all that. One thing I do wonder is in regards to the festivals of God. We have had 500 years to read the Bible, and it shouldn't be so difficult to see that, well, these festivals that we're now keeping is pagan, and the festivals in the Bible we're not keeping. And this, it's just, of course, there are some denominations today that actually are, going for keeping these festivals. Why would any Christian want to keep these pagan festivals? Oh yeah, but they have been Christianized now. Oh yeah, that's like the Antichrist in regards of his front yard having Egyptian erect idol penis in his front yard, right? But there's a cross on top of it, Oh, so it's okay to just have Egyptian erect idol penis in your front yard? That's okay. Yeah, because it's Christianized. You had to be kidding me. And that's, by the way, if anyone wants to see it, it's in regards to St. Peter's Square down in the Vatican, in the front yard, you have it. It's just standing in the middle. But hey, if you ask the Roman Catholics, they will just say, yeah, that's true, but there's a cross on top of it, you see. Oh, there's a cross on top of it, so it makes it okay. Okay. Who could say anything against that, right? There's a gigantic, erect penis standing there in the middle of St. Peter's place. And, yeah, but there's a cross on top of it. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, who can say anything against that, apparently, sometimes this world is just nutcase, Oh yeah, but this organization says it's Christian. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah. I guess Christians just love having, gigantic erect penises standing in their front yard. Yeah. I guess, yeah. I don't see it anywhere in the Bible, but actually, if I would think if the so-called Pope was actually a Christian, he would be out there himself and destroying the idol, But anyway, what do I know? Anyway, don't go on that trail in regards to Romanism. But anyway, it's just a insane system. It's just an insane asylum with people like, wanting power and what is it called? Prestige and what is it called? They were whatever. I don't know what it's called. I don't know. Anyway, so the Anabaptist was then persecuted by the Protestants, and then were persecuted by the Romans, or Romanism, and they were pretty much sandwiched as well. So persecuted and had to, and there's some wonderful stories and all that. Of course, they still had, as I understand it, they were still keeping Christ Mass and Easter and all the rest of the bullshit of pagan traditions and all that. But they got closer. They got pretty, They are, listening to some of the stories is just wonderful, and seeing how they speak like Jesus in regards of parables and all that is just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And the Protestants should just have been, yeah, great. They should just have been, yeah, that's great that someone is actually more radical than us. That should just be a thumbs up for them. Hey, God, spread the good news and all that. Yeah, you don't want to take up the sword of the hand. Well, okay, but just that's. Of course, I don't think a Christian should take up the sword of the hand, because Jesus said, whosoever takes up the sword of the hand shall die by the sword. Anyway, so, I don't understand, how people can... but anyway, so those are 3 groups that and apparently in regards to the persecution of so-called Judaizers and attacking them, that seems to go on in our days as well. And again, I just fell over this video and using all these arguments. I'm not under the law and this and that, and the law doesn't. Well, didn't Jesus say that that there would be some and he would reject them because he said they were lawless, iniquity without the law? I think it actually is, what is it, Matthew 5 or something like that. Let's see here. See if we can find it. Matthew, that's the Latin version there, but anyway. Matthew 5, maybe. I'm not sure, 5 or 7, I guess. And that's not Latin bullshit. Let's take the King James version, or maybe the King James version is pretty good. Of course, it has its own issues. It's like they removed the name of God. People saying that the King James version is just the perfect version and all that. That's utter bullshit. It's a good translation and all that, but they took the name out. They took the name of God out of the Bible nearly. What was it? It was nearly 7,000 times. I can't even remember. It was 5,000 times. I can't remember. That number apparently has. But a huge amount of times they took out the name of God. And they knew the name of God because they actually used it a couple of times. Here we have Jesus saying, whosoever therefore shall break one of these commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. And so forth, and he talks about righteousness and all that. Let's see here. Should be. No. Maybe it's chapter 7. Take heed, therefore, when those arms and blah 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 blah. Yep, this is the last part here. A little tight here. On that regards of, I should probably be careful in regards of. A little hard to. Maybe I should just have searched for it instead. That might have. Let's see here if we can do a search. Let's close that down. I just, it's just sad, I think, to see that people are just, attacking, even though it's like, okay, that's not, okay, when they're attacking the so-called Judaizers, and say they lose salvation and all that. Are you kidding me? So the salvation of Jesus is not great enough. It just doesn't make sense to me. Let's see here. Lord, haven't we done miracles? Let's see, Lord, Matthew. I just think it's bullshit, and they will say, oh, people will lose salvation if they try to keep these things. Oh, give me a break. But what? Oh, then Lord. There we go. Matthew 7:12 was Matthew 7. So this is a future thing, let's see. Wherefore by their fruit ye shall know them. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? So these people apparently, believe Jesus to be their Lord, right? Doesn't sound like it's the Mohammedans, because they only believe he's a prophet, right? Anyway, and then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. So, what was it in regards of verily, verily? Isn't that verily? And then will I... Usually I think that was like, you verily, verily, I'll tell you, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Where is it? I never knew you. Usually, where's the verily, verily? I don't know where. Usually let's see, in another version maybe. Of course, it's pretty much the same thing in some sense, But where's the scriptures version? Let's see what it says here. I thought it was verily, verily. And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. That was in regards to the lawlessness. Where is the verily, verily? Oh, maybe it's in Danish, I don't know. Where did I get the verily, verily, verily? Verily, verily, I tell you, I never knew you. Depart from me. But here it says, and then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Not everyone who says to my master, no, maybe it's, how could I get that? That seems to be something and he's warning in regards to be aware of the false prophets as well, who comes to you in what? Sheep clothing, but inwardly they are savage as wolves. So what does Jesus warn us about? What does he warn the sheep about? Well, wolves in sheep clothing. Something that looks like the real thing, but is not. That is what Jesus warns us about. But I wonder in regards to the verily, verily, because I don't know where I got that from. I must have read it somewhere in regards to verily, verily, and then shall I confess unto them. And let's see the Danish version in regards to this. I must have gotten in regards to someplace. Maybe I'm just mixing something together here in regards to the verily, verily. Or maybe it's actually in my, let's see, 7723 in the Danish here. I'll take some time here to find it. Oh, it's not good. 77723. 723. 23. There's no verily, verily either here. I don't know where I got the verily, verily from, but apparently, he's saying that, go away from me, ye that work iniquity, lawlessness. So why would he say that if the law is abolished? Isn't that interesting? I don't know. I think it's interesting. So maybe I have it in regards to the Facebook here. Let's see. No, I don't have verily, verily. Apparently, where did I get the verily? I don't know where I got it from. In Matthew 24:11-12, it says, "And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray." What did Jesus warn us about in regards of false prophets? In regards of false prophets coming in. Where was it? I was in regards to the TS this year. Lawlessness and all that. Anyway, up here. But be aware of false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing. In regards to Matthew 24, 11 to 12, he says, and many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in what? In lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. And that would be, let's go to Matthew 24 here, just so you can see it. And not pulling your leg, I think it's called in English. Here we go. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, I thought the law was abolished. Isn't that what they say? Isn't that what, the law is abolished? Well, why is Jesus then saying that because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold? I don't know. Maybe because the law is not abolished. And by the way, in regards to the little horn persecuting the saints, in regards to the book of Daniel, well, he thinks to change times and laws. Well, if he thinks to change times and laws, that's maybe the law is still there, in regards of... anyway, just, So, what do we have more? We have Matthew 13, 41 to 42. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, lawlessness, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. This is, pretty harsh warnings from our Master. So, yeah. See here. I don't know where I got the verily, verily from. I just thought it was like, verily, verily, I tell you, I never knew you, depart from me. I don't know where I got that from. Anyway, but you get the idea. Okay, and I will tell them as it is. I never knew you, depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Okay, yeah, and Danish is also in regards of the law, in regards of breaking the law. It's actually in regards of Danish, is actually law and breaking together in one word. So it's pretty clear that it's in regards of breaking the law. So lawlessness in English is, I guess, a little, yeah, I guess the Danish word might be more rough in depiction in regards of its, I don't know. But anyway, any case, just a little thing here, I guess. Well, I guess that's pretty much all for me in regards to this. Any case, so there is a lot of people again attacking the so-called Judaizers and all that. The question is, do you want, I don't see it as a bad thing. If people want to call me a Judaizer, hey, go ahead, But isn't that better than to be a Romanizer, funny enough, when, actually Romanizer, I found out that there's actually a word. I thought of, I actually found it in a, I was like, oh, it's cool, it's actually there, it's actually existing. So I don't know who actually used it, but I guess some came to the same conclusion. I don't know. Well, maybe in regards to the protest, against the Antichrist. Every single Protestant knew who the Antichrist was. It was not a secret, as everybody knew it, like second nature. It is the office and seat of the papacy. Okay? That's the Antichrist. That's the man of the number 666. All roads leads to Rome. You have a lot of groups out there working in secret for him. Well, I guess it might, some that, of course, Catholics might know more in regards to these things than, the Protestants apparently don't know anything. I didn't know anything in regards of the Jesuits. Who are the Jesuits, right? Go read the Jesuit Oath, That will be very helpful to understand some of the things that is out there, because the Jesuits are still active today. Still working for the Antichrist, okay? And if you go read their oath, you can see that they use all these Christian things, this Christian glimmer, and to their own diabolical, ways, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, the deceivers, they are, the special soldiers of Satan. It's disgusting. If you really want to, you can go and read the Jesuit Oath. If you just, go look on whatever, Google or whatever. It's very quickly to find it. Google.com, and you can just search on the Jesuit Oath. That would be the Society of Jesus, as they call it, or the Society of Ignatius Loyola, which was the first general. And here we have different web pages. You can take whatever. It's Jesuit conspiracy theories. I wonder if Wikipedia is trying to defend the Society of Jesus. So wouldn't be a surprise if they go on to try to defend they have a big propaganda machine out there, and a lot of Roman Catholics working for them, twisting history, rewriting history, twisting the Bible and all that. It's a system of abomination, and I don't know how anyone could be part of that system, but apparently people are. But anyway, this is the Jesuit Oath. My son, heretofore you have been taught to act a dissembler, a deceiver. What was it? We can go to a deceiver. Let's see, dissembler. Let's see, yeah. Dissimulator, hypocrite, a phony, a pretender, a beguiler, a cheater, deceiver, slicker, trickster, and all that. A person who professes beliefs and opinions that he or she does not hold in order to conceal his or her real feelings and motives. That's pretty much the Jesuits. Among Roman Catholics, to be a Roman Catholic, and to be a spy even among your own brethren. To believe no man, to trust no man. Among the reformers, to be a reformer. Among the Huguenots, to be a Huguenot. And of course, they persecuted the church persecuted the Huguenots and killed a lot of those. I think also in France. Of course, they persecuted the Waldensians as well, and what was the other group? And then they, rewriting history and trying to, they were just heretics and blah, 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 bullshit. If anyone is the heretics, it's the Roman Catholic Church. That's the mother whore of the book of Revelation. Anyway, among the Calvinists, to be a Calvinist. Among other Protestants, generally to be a Protestant, and obtaining their confidence, to seek even to preach from their pulpits, and to denounce with all the vehemence in your nature our so-called holy religion and the Pope, the so-called Pope, and even to descend so low as to become a Jew among the Jews, that you might be enabled to gather together all information for the benefit of your order as a faithful soldier of the what? Of the Antichrist. Anyway, and it goes on with its abomination. It's disgusting, and it's yeah. And here we go with Denmark. That's the country I'm from. Especially the Lutheran of Germany, Holland, and Denmark. Yeah, Sweden and Norway, and the now pretended authority in churches of England and Scotland and so forth, opposing the so-called Sacred Mother Church of Rome. By the way, in regards of what would be the mother congregation, if anyone would be the mother congregation, which one would it be? Would it be Rome? Was Jesus executed in Rome? Was his disciples in Rome? No, they were not. So where was Jesus executed? Oh, Jerusalem. Oh, so maybe the Nazarenes was actually the mother congregation, right? Of course, no. Anyway, of course, in regards of the whole riding the beast, that would be the mother of paganism, I guess in some sense. But anyway, the mother whore, persecuting the saints and all that. It's a most diabolical system. And again, I don't understand. And again, when you begin to understand these things, you begin to see how they mingle with the Christians, and apparently nowadays it's not, you end up getting kicked out of forums and places and all that if you talk about the Antichrist being the so-called Pope. So, and Catholics, it's just, they're mixing together with the system. Either it's, what do you call it, subjugate? Is that the thing in regards to the word in regards of English, subjugate? Either it swallows up, subjugate, let's see, how do you say subjugate? I don't know, subjugate, I don't know, maybe it can help me. Subjugate. Anyway, it's either it swallows up, things, or it destroys it. But it's just it's filthy. It's utter filthy, and that was Yeshua warned us about this. He didn't warn us about wolves in sheep clothing because, wolves, stinking wolf. He warned us about wolves in sheep clothing because that's might have been the thing that we needed to be warned about, because, a stinking wolf is pretty easy to spot, or should be easy to spot from a Christian reading the Bible, but a wolf in sheep clothing might not be so easily spotted. So, and that could, if possible, deceive the elect, okay? Anyway, I guess it's enough for now. I guess no one is seeing it anyway, right? So, where's the stop button here? Oh, well, I just pushed there. Well, may Jehovah bless you, and Yeshua a most precious pearl, and the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, be in us all. Amen. Have a good one, all of you. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. It's a couple of hours before the sun is actually going in my eyes at the moment, very nicely. Actually, you can see it on the camera here, I guess. Oh, that is. See if we can get the camera here and see if, yeah, that's the sun. It's not so. It's nice. It's nice having the sun too. It's a lot in Denmark. We have a lot of gray. And of course, the trails on the sky doesn't help on it. Whether, people, some say they are contrails, some say they're chemtrails. Whatever the case, they are hiding the sun away from us. And I remember years ago when I was, and of course in regards to chemtrails, the fine word of chemtrails, the word is geoengineering. Geoengineering, that's there we go. Geoengineering. That's the, what do you call it, the professional term of it, if one wants to have information about, spraying things out and all that, geoengineering. And but whatever the case, I remember when I was in the occult and I was out, sun gazing in the morning, and I could just see, and, you're standing there to, look at the sun and so forward. I wouldn't advise anyone to do it, but, I was doing it at that point, and then you could just see, a plane, for example, just spraying a thing out, and then the whole sky began to become disgusting, pretty much. And the sun became less, you could feel it was less powerful. But anyway, it was one of these practices, whatever, I did in the past. But you stood there you could maybe stand there for an hour and, just looking in the sun. And then, of course, you could follow along, which came over in regards to, and usually you go down there and the sky is just beautiful blue, and whoopsie, there we go with a plane, and then it's just disgusting. Anyway, it's a filthy world, really a filthy world. Anyway, the next, Yeshua is coming back. And it's not the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be cast into the lake of fire. So, anyway, have a good one, all of you. I'm just tired of, I guess, so many things that are wrong in this world. Michael Root had the show in regards of the the Hebrew manuscripts, there's this guy that that has been out studying these things, and he's on the show, but it's only an hour. It's like, come on, come on, at least 2 hours when it's about such things, I was like sitting there, you can't stop now, let me, come on. I think they could, run 2 hours, but without any problem. But they run 1 hour, and it's like, yeah, okay. Using time on other things as well in the program, so it's less than an hour that you're actually listening to this guy, and he has some interesting things. He showed some images. Oh, that's the sun. He showed some images of the Hebrew, the Hebrew manuscripts of either Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. I'm not sure which one it was. But he showed some images of the Hebrew and all that. And of course, we have the Aramaic as well. So we can really, 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 the information that we have to refine, and he had more information in regards of the story of the woman caught in adultery and all that. That's apparently in the Hebrew. So he talked about how it actually ended up getting into the Greek later, or in the Greek later on. Why? Because it was inserted later on, it seems, and yet it seems to actually have been in the, or at least in some places, it seems to have been inserted later on, but apparently it was in the Hebrew. So anyway, that was his idea of it anyway. So that's interesting. Of course, there was another idea why it might actually have been, for example, it's not found in the Aramaic. And of course, if the Greek was translated from the Aramaic, I don't know. But, there are some things where the Aramaic seems to be closer to. So, yeah. But if I remember correctly, it wasn't in the Aramaic as well. And, one was talking about that it's really, you could easily, make a mistake and pretty much, anyway, I don't know. It's still a good amount of things to write, so I don't know. Any case, there was a lot of, persecution and all that, and I guess, whatever. But it was very interesting to see that apparently they believe to have found the Gospels in Hebrew, the originals, and they talked about, the Christians are talking. That's true. That you have sources where they're talking about the Hebrew and all that. And I do have some information that I haven't read yet in regards to the Hebrew manuscripts, where I think it's Jerome or someone that, where you have all the sources in regards to the differences in regards to the book of Matthew or something like that. So. Whereas like, the Hebrew manuscript says this, and and so forth. Yeah. Anyway, have a good one. My nose is blocked now after so. Oh yeah, this is a Roman pagan sun calendar. Yep. And now we go with the Christ Mass, and Hanukkah. Hanukkah is not one of the festivals found in the Torah. Hanukkah is something that was actually called the second Sukkot. So, anyway, it's not one of the festivals found in the Torah. So, I don't really care for that. Christmas, don't really care for that. And they say New Year, I don't really care for that because that's bullshit as well. I do wonder in regards, let's see if we can find the Hebrew New Year here. Can we go backward here? Let's see if we have, I don't know how long you can actually go back in regards to the Hebrew. Here we go, Rosh Hashanah. That would be the, Rosh Hashanah. That would be where they believe it's like the head of the year. Oh, that's the second day, so we would be maybe this one. No, that's still day 2. Oh yeah, okay, so that's actually one, okay. In regards of following the moon and all that. So Rosh Hashanah 29. That's like okay, that's Rosh Hashanah Eve, and then we have Rosh Hashanah. Okay, It can be, it depends on the moon. When the new moon is observed and so forth, it can be 29 or 30 days in a month. So thereby, sometimes so it's the day that no one knows. So as Jesus says, or Yeshua says, that the day that no one knows might actually be a reference to the day of trumpet, because it's laying on the first day of the month, and thereby, you don't know if it's one under another, So, yeah, so that's pretty good, I guess. But the Jews are keeping their New Year in the fall, and we keep it and the West keep it in the winter. But both of it are wrong. I think the Mohammedans keep it like, I think the calendar doesn't calibrate itself. So I think it's like, whatever. I haven't really, next time I'm talking to a Mohammedan, I can ask him some questions on that. How that works out and so forward. Of course, it's pagan bullshit, but anyway. I like learning a little here and a little there. So any case, but of course, it's not really so important. The important thing is to know what the Bible says, and the Bible says the New Year is in spring. Okay, the first month is where Passover is, and Easter is not Passover. Easter is calculated differently than Passover according to the Bible, although they are usually close. They're not that far from each other. They can be like I've seen it like a month apart from each other and so forward, but they're still, in that area of spring and all that. But they're calculated in two different ways. So, and of course we want to go by the Bible, right? And not by Roman tradition. Easter, in regards to the pagan goddess of Easter. Anyway, have a good one. I'm speaking and so forward, and I guess no one wants to hear it anyway. Apparently in this wicked world. Anyway, have a good one. And when you come to it, Shavua Tov, have a good week,